Welcome back to Artist on Record, your ultimate intimate conversation with your favorite artist. In the hot seat from LA Guns, Mr. Tracii Guns. LA Guns has a new album out, Leopard Skin. You can get that record right now. Just click on that icon that's popped up on the screen right here, or check it out in our descriptions down below. You are listening to LA Guns' latest single, Taste It. And in this clip, we talk about Rick Rubin, Steve Riley, and Guns N' Roses. Buckle up, it all starts now. You know, I didn't know this. I didn't know Rick Rubin was working on Hollywood Vampires album at one point. Is that true?
Yeah, and cocked and loaded.
I didn't know that.
Guess who fired him twice because he didn't want to be told what to do?
I don't know the story. Tell me this.
I mean, Rick and George Drakolius, they were kind of hipsters and stuff like that. And Rick came in on cocked and loaded, and we're working. And, Steve said something like, he's not really doing anything. I go, yeah, that's because we're good. That's how Rick works. I don't know, bro. I don't know, about this Rick Rubin guy. We need someone like fucking Slick Dick or whatever, I'm like, you fucking fire him. And he did. And I'm like, fuck. And we got warming. It worked out. But then fast forward to that. And it's crazy. I went to Rick's house after Cocked and Loaded was mastered. We sat in the bed, amongst the Foghat DVD or VHS tapes, with George and Rick and me, and put the album on. He goes, and the only thing Rick said, he goes, it's really good, except there's way too much fucking reverb on the snare. I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. No love lost. Then we're doing pre-production for Hollywood Vampires out at NRG, out in the Valley. Yeah. We had it locked out for like 6 months or something. So Rick comes down with George, and Rick at the same time was doing Blood Sugar Sex Magic with the Peppers, right down the street at the alley on Lancashire. And so to kind of safeguard, he kind of designated, okay, George, you got to be the guy that's here every day, and I'll come in at the end of the day and I'll see what the progress is, and blah blah blah. So sure enough, like 3 days in, no, longer than that, like the following week, like the first week's all sympathetic, playing the songs. Rick keeps asking me to, like, why are you using the distortion pedal? Just play through the basement amp, and we're getting through the songs, and you can do whatever you want in the studio. That's where you make your magic. And I'm like, I want to use my distortion pedal. And he's like, well, then fine. You know what I mean? Like, little things that, Rick is very much a purist, right? Like, he wants you to express yourself, but for me, and this, you played to me, that goddamn distortion pedal, it helps me to express what I do, right? No big deal. So, and then I would go over to the alley, and watch the Chili Peppers do their pre-production. I was good friends with John, old friends with Flea and Anthony and stuff. It was a really good vibe. It's like, Hollywood Vampires during the day, Chili Peppers at night, hanging with Rick and George and all this stuff. So one day, I don't remember exactly what Rick said, but it was so simple. It was so stupid. He said to Steve, hey, could you simplify the beat just for this section? I just want to hear it. Steve goes, no, I'm sorry, bro. No, I'm not going to change what I'm doing. Like that. And everybody just cringed. Nobody could even look at him. It's like, we see where this is going.
Yeah.
And a couple days later, George and Rick and I had already made plans to go to dinner somewhere, like, it wasn't Dan Tana's, but it was something kind of cool, something kind of fancy, And they picked me up. We're in the car, and I'm really quiet because Steve told me to fire him. you know. And before we even get to the restaurant, he goes, I know that mood you're in. I've seen it before. We're fired, aren't we? And I'm like, oh man, you know, he goes, don't worry about it. We went and ate, and that was that, you know, but it always bummed me out because I was pretty close to Rick and George for a while. Like, you know, I went
Mm.
to the NAMM show with Rick one year, you know, we just had the best time, you know, and now we're not friends, you know what I mean? And like, that's a guy I really want to be friends with because we agreed on so many things as far as, you know, how do you create music? Why do you create music? And how do you record music? Rick and I and George, you know, we all agreed, you know, on these three main things, you know. And, you know, the fucking well got tainted. You know, toxic people will fuck your shit up, man. They will just fuck your shit up and ruin things for you. You know, Phil and I were never bad at really angry at each other, but other people would get in between us and start shit. You know, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with people,
Yeah.
man? You know, when something's going good, just shut up and enjoy it. You know, it just never ceases to amaze me how musicians will ruin everything they have. You know, it's just amazing. And the argument could be, well, you left Guns N' Roses. And it's like, well, I had confidence in myself, and that wasn't the right situation for me. You know, and it was definitely the right situation for Slash. It worked out for everybody, you
It
know,
did
but
work out. Mhm.
it worked out, man, you know, and when things are going good, that means you're way ahead of the competition. You're way ahead of the percentage of people that make $1 playing music. Just shut up. Just go and enjoy yourself. But people can't. Musicians are crazy. I'm crazy.
And back then, who knew what was gonna go on with Guns N' Roses, LA Guns? Nobody had a crystal ball. It's just how you gut feeling. This is not something in your heart said, "This is not where I
Yeah.
wanna be. There's something else I wanna do."
I mean, there's a lot of truth to that because the thing with, and it was a strange chemistry, you know, when Axl was doing LA Guns and then Guns N' Roses, you know, we really had a nice like eye to eye kind of thing. Like, you know, musically we were spot on. And then when Izzy came in and we did Guns N' Roses, it was even better because Izzy and I really used to have long conversations, you know, because we lived together before Guns N' Roses, Izzy and I. So we had a lot of dialogue about what's cool, what's not cool. If you're going to do a new band, how do you do it in a way that isn't exactly like your influences and separate yourself from everybody else? So by the time it was Axl and Izzy and me, we had great conversations, you know. But the one conversation that we never had was like, hey, Axl, this is about music. And as time goes on, please don't take up half the set talking to the audience, right? Because that was the issue that started for me and the rest of the guys. But the other guys were like, no, whatever, you know, it's just kind of what it is, you know. Don't make waves, you know, kind of thing. And ultimately, I think that Axl's passion for talking to the audience was also the attraction. I mean, the band was great, but he connected with people live. You know what I mean? And he was stern. He had, you know, conviction in his opinions, and it was culturally important what he was doing. I was 19. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I want to play the guitar. You know, I want to be Randy Rhoads. You know what I mean? Like I didn't care about any of that. You know, but Axl was way ahead maturity wise, and it gave him a platform to tell people what's up. You know what I mean? So when I bailed, you know, the whole intention was like, all right, I'm just going to do the super fun ass black leather van and we're going to be nasty. And because that's all I cared about. You know what I mean? I didn't want to make a cultural shift. I didn't want to change music, blah, 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 blah. But that's exactly the time when you do. That's when you do change people because you just do what you want, be yourself. And if it's legitimate,
Yeah.
people follow. You know what I mean? And you know, I remember the first time somebody sent an email, or not an email, a physical letter. I was like 22 years old. Was reading some fan mail. Some guy said that without me, he would never played guitar. And that was it. That was the end for me. It's like, I did it. You know what I mean? Like that's all I could ever ask is like, I want to be like Jimmy Page to the point where somebody plays the guitar because of something I wrote or recorded or whatever. And that was my ego. You know, it was like, and I got that and I did that. And everything else after that is just gravy. Here we are.
You know, when Steve passed away, Steve Riley, how did that affect you when his passing? Because you guys, you know, I know that you guys weren't really talking. He was doing his LA Guns, you have yours. You know, how did you feel about that?
You know, I wish that I felt anyway about it, but there was so much bad blood there that it is like, you know, I saw Mary Louise Riley at the Nothing But a Good Time screening, and she acted like we were friends. And all I could say to her was like, hey, I'm sorry you lost your husband. And I walked away, man. You know, I got to be real. You know, I can't be like, oh, you know, he contributed so much to, he didn't. You know what I mean? He took from me. He took from the band. He took from Phil unashamedly. And then once again, he's out and he thinks he can just go continue. I sue him. He still goes out, Riley's LA Guns, and you know, it's such a schmuck move. And then he dies, and then the other guys are going to go out as fucking Riley's LA Guns with a dead guy. Yeah, it's like, what is wrong with you? You know, I mean, you know, you're past middle age, and you're clinging on to somebody else's thing. Why can't you just do, you know? Have some self-confidence, man. If you paid your dues are going to pay you back. And that goes
absolutely right.
both ways. You pay your shitty dues, your shitty dues come back too.
That's like me doing that. Maybe I should just go and do an LA Guns, Stefan's LA Guns. I'll just go out.
Why not? Why not? And I won't even stop you, because unless it interferes with what Phil and I are doing, we don't care.
Stefan's LA, hold on. Hey, Paul Black and Stefan.
Yeah, you guys go do it. Original singer. But he's not the original singer.
Get out of here.
That was Mr. Tracii Guns. You know what? I'm going to call Paul Black. Tracii gave me the permission. I might as well just do it.
Stefan?
Hey, Paul. Listen, really important. I know you're doing real estate. I know you're busy, but I got something big that we can do.
I don't think I have time for rock and roll. I'm too busy making money.
Okay. Here's what you and I could do, Paul. I just did an interview with Tracii Gunn.
Huh?
He just gave me permission to do Stefan's LA Guns. I'll give up the podcast. You give up real estate. Let's do it.
But you got to make sure that it interferes with everything that they're doing. Make sure you're playing in the same towns every week.
Goodbye. I'll get back to you.
Why?
I'll get back to you.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
The guy wants to start trouble over here with me. What am I supposed to do? All right. Until then, everybody, I am Stefan. You're beautiful. Click here and here for our next episode. And if you want to catch this episode unedited, join our members only club. In the meantime, more clips of my conversation with Tracii will be coming your way. So click the notifications tab and make sure you subscribe. Until then, we'll catch you all later. Who loves you, baby? We do. Thanks for watching.